She was just a nurse finishing her night shift. He was a world-renowned surgeon who thought he'd lost everything. And the boy left behind in the shadows, forgotten until fate brought them all together. No one could have predicted what would unfold from that one cold night outside the hospital. A newborn abandoned in silence. A woman with a heart too big to walk away. And years later, an impossible truth that would change their lives forever. What would you do if the child you raised as your own turned out to be the son of a man you never expected to fall for? This isn't just a story about love. It's about secrets that refuse to stay buried, the courage to forgive, and the kind of family that's chosen, not born. Stay with us because by the end, you'll believe in second chances, and maybe in miracles, too. Rain drizzled over the quiet streets of Boston that night, washing the sidewalks in a dull silver glow. Inside the Mercy Hill Medical Center, the fluorescent lights flickered slightly as the night staff moved through another long, tiring shift. Claire Bennett, a 28-year-old ICU nurse, finally clocked out after 16 grueling hours. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her ponytail loose, and the exhaustion in her bones mirrored the weariness in her eyes. She stepped into the night, ready to cross the street toward the bus stop. But just as she passed the hedges lining the hospital entrance, she heard it, a faint, fragile cry. She stopped, heart tightening. Another wail. It was coming from the bushes. Claire hesitated. It was late. The wind howled through the trees and the street was deserted. But something pulled at her, something deeper than curiosity. She walked toward the sound, gently parting the branches with trembling hands, her breath caught in her throat. A newborn baby swaddled in a tattered gray blanket, cheeks flushed from the cold, eyes squeezed shut as it cried for someone who'd never return. Claire dropped to her knees, scooping the tiny child into her arms. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Sure. It's okay, baby. You're safe now." She turned, sprinting back toward the ER entrance. Doctors rushed forward. Questions flew. A pediatric nurse came running with a warm blanket. The baby was alive, slightly dehydrated but stable. Claire stood back, arms crossed over her chest, watching the team work. A part of her ached in a way she hadn't expected. When a senior nurse, Margaret Hayes, stood beside her and said, "Poor thing. Probably abandoned." Claire could only nod. Hours passed. No one came forward. Security footage revealed nothing. Social services opened a case. But Claire, she couldn't stop thinking about him. "You're calling him now?" Margaret asked, teasing gently. Claire smiled, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "He looks like a fighter, a little lion. You know they'll place him in the system if no one claims him." Claire's face darkened. "That's what I'm afraid of." That night, Claire lay awake in her cramped studio apartment, staring at the ceiling. She imagined herself feeding him, bathing him, rocking him to sleep. A wild thought burned at the edge of her mind. Could she be the one? The next morning, Claire walked into the hospital, not with her usual fatigue, but with fiery determination. She met with the child services liaison. "I want to adopt the baby," she said without hesitation. The woman blinked. "Claire, you're single. You're a nurse working double shifts. Do you understand what you're asking for?" "I do," she replied. "And I'm willing to fight for him." And she did. For months, Claire filled out paperwork, underwent evaluations, budgeted every cent she had, and took on extra shifts just to prove she could provide. When the judge finally signed the approval, Claire cried silently in the courtroom. She named him Leo, her little lion. Years passed, and their life became a rhythm of love, hardship, and wonder. Claire worked 2 jobs while Leo grew into a curious, bright boy with a love for music and an infectious laugh. Their apartment was small, their budget tight, but they had each other. One evening, as Claire folded laundry, Leo, now 5, sat at the kitchen table scribbling with crayons. "Mommy, why don't I have a daddy like the other kids?" The question sliced through her like a blade. She knelt beside him, brushing his hair back gently. "Families come in all shapes, baby. Some kids have a mom and a dad. Some have 2 moms, 2 dads, and some, like us, have one amazing mom and a brave little boy." He smiled. "That's us, huh?" "That's us," she whispered, kissing his forehead. But fate has a way of shaking even the most fragile piece. 11 years later, Claire's world would be turned upside down. A new cardiac surgeon had just joined the hospital. Everyone whispered about him, his brilliance, his reputation, and the scars he never spoke of. His name was Dr. Michael Donovan. Claire thought little of it until one night in a quiet hospital hallway, their paths crossed. He was tall, with dark hair swept back, a jaw carved from stone, and eyes that carried years of pain. He glanced at her badge. Claire Bennett, right? Her heart skipped. Yes, Dr. Donovan. I've heard you're the best ICU nurse in this hospital. She blinked, unsure what to say. I try my best. Their eyes locked. Something unspoken passed between them. A flicker of something she hadn't felt in a very, very long time. What Claire didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that this man, this enigmatic surgeon, had a past intimately tied to hers and Leo's. The secret had been buried for over a decade, but it was about to surface. And when it did, no one would be the same. Claire couldn't ignore it. There was something about Dr. Michael Donovan that unsettled her. Not in a threatening way, in a way that made her chest tighten every time he walked into a room. He wasn't just brilliant in the OR. He was kind, calm, and deeply human. The staff admired him. Patients trusted him. But behind his charming smile, his eyes always looked like they were searching for something, or someone. It had been a few months since Michael joined the hospital. His reputation grew with every successful surgery, but so did Claire's curiosity. Their paths kept crossing during late-night shifts, patient transfers, quiet coffee breaks. There was a pull, unspoken, hesitant, but real. Still, Claire kept her guard up. Her life revolved around Leo. Romance, that was a luxury she didn't dare entertain. One evening, Claire was charting notes when she saw Michael sitting alone in the staff lounge, staring into a cup of untouched coffee. The air around him was unusually heavy. "Everything okay?" she asked, hesitating in the doorway. He looked up, startled, then smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Just tired. Long day." Claire stepped inside. "You look more than tired." He studied her for a moment. "You ever feel like your past is just waiting to catch up with you?" Claire didn't answer her right away. Instead, she sat across from him. "I think sometimes the past isn't chasing us. Sometimes it's leading us back to something we left behind." Michael went quiet, his fingers drummed against the table. Finally, he said, "I had a son once." Claire's breath caught, but she said nothing. "I never got to know him. He was taken from me before I even held him. All I ever had was a name on a birth certificate and a photo I couldn't look at for years. I spent my life wondering where he ended up, if he was safe, if someone loved him the way I couldn't." Claire's heart twisted. She didn't dare ask more. But inside her chest, a storm had begun. That night at home, Leo sat at the kitchen table, bent over his homework. The piano, an old hand-me-down keyboard Claire bought from a thrift store, sat silent in the corner. But something in Leo's face caught her attention. He looked older lately, quieter, as if something weighed on him, too. "Hey, kiddo," she said, brushing his shoulder. "What's on your mind?" He hesitated, then said, "There's this new music teacher at school, Mr. Jameson. He said I've got something, potential. But he also said I need real lessons. I told him we couldn't afford it." Claire felt the pang of guilt twist in her gut. She wanted the world for him, but the world cost money. Before she could respond, the doorbell rang. It was Michael. He stood there, hair slightly damp from the drizzle outside, a nervous energy clinging to him. "I'm sorry to drop by unannounced," he said, eyes flicking past her shoulder into the apartment. "I just needed to talk to you." Claire stepped aside and let him in. Leo peeked from the hallway, curious. Michael offered a gentle wave. "Hey, buddy." Leo nodded shyly, then disappeared into his room. Michael turned to Claire, voice quieter now. "There's something I need to ask, and I know it's going to sound crazy." Claire crossed her arms, bracing herself. "I don't know why, but every time I see your son, I get this feeling like I know him." Claire's blood ran cold. "I know it sounds impossible," Michael continued. "But I did the math, the timing, his age, where he was found." "Claire, can I ask something personal?" She didn't speak. "Couldn't. I'd like to do a DNA test just to be sure." Silence. The kind that crackles with fear and confusion. "You think Leo is your son?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Michael nodded. "I need to know. I've searched for him for years. There's a chance, even a small one. I have to take it." Claire looked away, eyes burning. Her entire world, the one she'd built, fought for, sacrificed everything for, was starting to crack. Could it be true? Could Leo really be the child Michael lost? She nodded slowly. "Okay, we'll do the test." Days passed in agonizing silence. Claire went through the motions, prepping meds, checking vitals, smiling at patients. But her mind was never in the room. She watched Leo more closely than ever. Every gesture, every glance, she saw the similarities now. The same thoughtful frown, the stubborn tilt of his chin. But was that just her fear playing tricks on her? When the results finally came, Michael asked her to meet him privately. He held the envelope in his hands, fingers trembling. Claire's heart thudded like a war drum. He opened it, read it, then looked up, eyes glassy. "It's positive," he said, voice cracking. "Leo, he's my son." Claire's knees nearly gave out. She sat in stunned silence as Michael crossed the room and knelt beside her. "I don't want to take him from you," he said quickly. "I don't want to undo what you've built. I just want to be in his life if you'll let me." Claire stared at the floor. The air around her thickened still. Her entire life had just rewritten itself in a single sentence. And Leo would need to know the truth. Now, the question wasn't whether Michael was ready to be a father. It was whether Claire could share the boy she'd loved as her own for 12 years. Viewers, what would you do if the child you raised turned out to have a living, biological parent? Would you let them into your child's life? Would you tell your child the truth? Let us know in the comments below. This story is just heating up. Claire stood in the hallway just outside Leo's room, her heart pounding like a drum. The DNA results sat on the kitchen counter, still open, still undeniable. Michael Donovan, renowned surgeon, respected colleague, the man she'd grown to quietly admire, was Leo's biological father. 12 years of secrets, 12 years of silent prayers and quiet nights had led to this moment. She opened Leo's door. He was sitting cross-legged on the floor, humming softly as he adjusted the keys on his worn-out keyboard. His face lit up when he saw her, the way it always did. "Mom, listen to this. I made up something new." Claire knelt down beside him, brushing his hair gently off his forehead. "Leo, sweetheart, there's something important I need to tell you." He paused, sensing the change in her voice. "What's wrong?" She took a shaky breath. "Do you remember how I told you I found you when you were a baby? That someone left you near the hospital?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, you saved me." She smiled, tears burning her eyes. "I did, and I've loved you every single second since that day. You've always been my son, Leo. Always. But recently, something unexpected happened. We found out who your biological father is." Leo blinked. "Really?" She nodded. "It's Dr. Donovan." Silence. His face didn't change immediately, but she saw the storm building behind his eyes. "That guy from the hospital?" He asked quietly. "Yes." He didn't know. He thought you were gone forever. But he wants to get to know you. Only if you're ready. Leo looked down at the keys beneath his fingers. "Does that mean I have to leave you?" Claire's heart shattered. "No, baby. Never. You're my son. Nothing changes that. No one can take you away from me." Leo was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Can I meet him? Just talk." Claire pulled him close. "Of course, we'll do it together." A week later, they met in a quiet corner of the hospital garden. Michael was already there, pacing nervously. When he saw Leo, he froze, his face flooded with emotion. "Hi," Leo said. Michael knelt to meet him at eye level. "Hi, Leo. I've wanted to meet you for a very long time. You probably have a lot of questions." Leo shrugged. "I just want to know if you play piano." Michael laughed, startled. "Actually, yeah, I used to a long time ago." "Good," Leo said, smiling. "Then we can jam sometime." That one line, so simple, so honest, shattered the tension. Claire stood back and watched them talk. Watched Leo laugh. Watched Michael slowly come alive in his presence. She felt a strange mix of joy and fear, and something like hope. In the weeks that followed, Michael visited more often. Sometimes he'd help Leo with homework. Other times, they'd play chess or music. Claire made sure to keep healthy boundaries, always present but never overbearing. What surprised her most was how gentle Michael was, how patient. He didn't try to dominate. He simply showed up. Then one night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Claire and Michael sat on her balcony, sipping tea while Leo slept inside. "You've done something extraordinary," Michael said. "Raising him the way you have. He's kind, smart, curious. He's everything I could have hoped for." Claire looked away. "I didn't do it for praise." "I know, but I need to say it." He reached into his pocket and handed her a small photo. It was of him as a young man holding an ultrasound. "That was the only picture I had of him for over a decade. Now I have the real thing." Claire studied the photo, then said, "Why did you let him go?" Michael sighed. "His mother left without warning. I came home one night, and both of them were gone. I searched, hired private investigators, nothing. I thought maybe she moved out of state, started over. I blamed myself for working too much, for not seeing the signs, and then I just lost hope." Claire nodded slowly. "He asked me the same question when he was 6. Why didn't his real parents want him? Michael's eyes welled up. He's wrong. I never stopped wanting him. Claire looked at him, truly looked, and saw not a surgeon, not a co-worker, but a man torn open by regret. He's safe now, she whispered. He's loved. They sat in silence for a while. Then Michael turned to her. Claire, I know this is complicated. I don't expect anything more than what you're willing to give, but I want to be part of his life. And if there's room in your world, I'd like to be in it too. She stared at him, heart pounding. I don't know what this is, she said. I don't know if I'm ready for anything more than co-parenting. Michael nodded. Then let's start with that. And so they did. They built something fragile and beautiful. A slow friendship, a shared rhythm. Co-parenting dinners turned into quiet conversations. Conversations turned into late-night laughter, and slowly, imperceptibly, walls came down. One evening, Leo came home from school holding a paper. It's family day next week, he said. We're supposed to bring someone who inspires us. Claire smiled. You want me to come? I want both of you to come, he said. You and Dad. It was the first time he'd said it like that. Claire felt her breath catch. Michael said nothing, just reached out and squeezed her hand under the table. Family day was chaos. Screaming kids, glitter, glue, cupcakes. But when Leo stood up in front of his class, holding Claire's hand in one and Michael's in the other, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. My mom found me when no one else did, he said proudly. She gave me everything. My dad didn't know I existed, but now he's here. And I think that's what family is, people who show up, people who choose you. As he stepped down, he whispered, I love you. Claire bent down and kissed his cheek. We love you too. And just like that, the pieces of a broken past wove themselves into a whole. Viewers, what did you feel watching this story unfold? Did it touch your heart the way it touched ours? If you believe in the power of love and second chances, drop a 100 in the comments below. We want to know what country are you watching from. And don't forget to share this video with someone who believes in the strength of family and the beauty of forgiveness.